Welcome back. Support for the ANC seems to be sliding. At least that's according to the latest Ipsos survey. It looks at support for parties ahead of the local government elections and voter willingness. Ipsos SA Director Marie Harris joins me now live. Marie, thanks for your time. So let's start with the governing party first. How's it looking?
Well, the ANC has lost, if you want to put it that way, 8.2 percentage points since the election in 2019, the national election in 2019. There was a slow slide from there, from the 57.5 that the ANC achieved in the national election to 55.1 to 51.8 in surveys we've done. And now we are at 49.3%. That is if we look at the people who say they want to go and vote. It's not necessarily a prediction of the outcome of the election yet. It's also not a prediction of the turnout yet. It's a little bit too early for that. And we've also not really asked people whether they registered to vote. We've asked them whether they want to vote.
Okay, so let's talk about any of the reasons why people are moving away from the ANC. Have you recorded any of that information from respondents?
Yes, actually we gave people the opportunity to give a party, any party that they would vote for, and also reasons why they would not want to vote. And there's 4% of people who say they don't trust politicians and political parties at all. There's a further just over 6% who say that voting makes no difference. It doesn't matter if you go out and vote, it really makes no difference in the end. There's also, well, almost 7% who currently says their vote is confidential, so they didn't want to share their opinion with us. Obviously, in that group, there can still be votes for all political parties. And we've also recorded verbatims why people said they don't want to vote or why they don't want to go to the polls. And the people say things like, I have no interest in voting in local elections. I only vote in national elections. They say things like, I will vote for whoever wants to do the job and run the country properly. Not that they went on and said what is running properly. And also quite a few people said, I will vote for any party as long as it's not the ANC. There's uncertainty. People said, I'll see who to vote for when I get to the polling station, so not making up their minds before the time. And then there were quite a few who said, I'm unemployed, so why should I vote?
Interesting. It's sad to hear that
a wide variety of reasons.
Yeah, it's actually still sad to hear that people don't see the need to vote, especially for local government elections, because that's where service delivery is supposed to happen.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the opposition parties then. You're seeing a decline in ANC support. Does that necessarily translate into an increase in support for our main opposition parties or not?
Well, both the two main opposition parties are doing better than what they did over the last three measurements that we took of party support. But I do not necessarily think it comes from ANC support. It probably just comes from people who are making up their minds. Currently, we measure the DA at 17.9%. and the EFF at 14.5%. In the meantime, since the 2019 national election up to now, we have measured the DA constantly at about 13, 14%, and the EFF at about 9, 10%. So both of them are doing better in this particular survey than what they did before.
And I see new kid on the block, Action SA, is coming up here in your graph. Interesting enough, also doing better than some of the parties we've seen on that ballot paper for years. I'm sure that their majority is probably in Johannesburg, right?
Yes, definitely. The Action SA and the ACDP both registered 1.5%. There's actually only a few parties who register more than 1% of support. But I do think Action SA was one of the first posters that went up in Johannesburg that I've seen were from Action SA. and most support are coming from Johannesburg for Action SA.
And overall, the picture that you're seeing, is it an indication that people are at all afraid to vote because of COVID-19, or is it just because, as you mentioned, they don't really vote in local government elections?
I don't think people are afraid to vote. They will cope with the circumstances when it gets to voting. They will do the spacing that they need to. I think we might see more people who really seriously want to vote go out and get vaccinated perhaps before the voting day, so that at least it's a little bit safer for them to go out and vote. But I think we are still in that period of voter apathy. We need to remember that we have about 39 million South Africans who are eligible to vote. Of those, in the previous election, about 26, 27 million were registered, but less than 20 million voted. And usually the voting percentage, the turnout, is lower in local elections than in national elections. So I would at this stage not even hazard a guess at what the turnout will be. But local government elections are usually lower, and I do think there are many, many people who are saying, why should we vote? Is it really now necessary? And as I said to you right in the beginning, they complain about various things when it comes to voting, and also political parties and politicians.
And just for context, tell us how many people were surveyed?
It was 1,501. We did it on telephone this time, and 96% of South Africans have access to mobile phones. And it was a quick survey done on CATI, which means that the responses were registered on the computer directly as they were telephonically interviewed. And also it is representative of South Africans that have access to mobile phone. I've checked the sample. It's actually a very good representation across the country of ages, of genders, of race groups, of income groups. Well, with 96% of South Africans that having access to mobile phone, all in all, it's quite a good sample.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Ipsos South Africa Director, Marie Harris.